But one way or another, I do think that a majority of these assets will go on chain. And I think that Canton is very well positioned as a public permissionless chain, but with this configurable privacy and configurable permissioning to capture a lot of these flows.
I think this is becoming clearer and clearer as you talk. But what's interesting is that DTCC, as I understand it, is not only using Canton, it has joined the Canton Foundation as co-chair with Euroclear. So that seems like a big deal.
That is a big deal. Yes. I mean, it's not hard to read the tea leaves there.
Yeah.
That DTCC sees this as a very important chain, and one that they want to really lean in on.
Right. And it seems like DTCC believes that that Canton could become the default institutional RWA real world asset network. Is that what we can glean from this?
I mean, that's my interpretation of it. And by the way, it's also, what I believe. I think that Canton is best positioned to achieve that.
Canton could become the de facto standard for real-world asset tokenization. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another CYPRX video breakdown. In light of the recent events that have taken place, I thought it was necessary to give you guys a quick update, playing some video clips and just going over some fundamentals on Canton real fast, as we are seeing some massive things take place in the ecosystem as of time of recording this particular video breakdown today. Yuval Ruse here just the other day posted flight to quality, aka utility. I cannot stress enough, now is the time to go and do research on Canton, how it is actually being utilized and how in real time real Canton coins are being burned because of the utility on the network. With that in mind, coming over here to the Coin Market Cap website, what just took place? Canton just flipped Chainlink this morning. Wow. Absolutely phenomenal time to be alive. Now, who knows if Canton holds this place or not? I'm not here to debate that. I'm just here to show you guys what is taking place in real time. This past week, we flipped XLM. We saw Canton Coin in previous weeks flip AVAX, HBAR, Soy, and now it is sitting in the top 15 spot, only 5 spots away from the top 10. And it is my personal opinion, this is probably one of the only opinions that I will give you guys, is that Canton Coin can 110%, in my, again, personal opinion, supersede a meme coin's market cap, considering the real value and utility that it brings. With that being said, coming over here to a recent interview in regards to a post that Elon Trade had put out. I want to play a quick video clip that aligns with this post from Elon Trade. Shout out to Elon Trades for this post over on X, on the Canton network, burn and mint equilibrium dynamics and how they are going parabolic right now. Daily burn is 15 million plus Canton Coin, up from 5 million in July, which is a huge substantiating increase. The burn and mint ratio is 0.65, up from 0.15 6 months ago. For context, the 1.0 ratio equals neutral deflationary equilibrium. We're at 0.65 and climbing vertically. This is before the DTCC launches by the end of year. Canton burns are mandatory for cross-institutional settlement. You cannot use the global synchronizer without burning Canton Coin. 700,000 plus daily transactions requires burns. Currently burning 14% of the market cap annually. When DTCC launches and potentially 5 to 10x's this activity, the burn rate could exceed 50 to 100% of the market cap. This is not DeFi TVL. This is Goldman, BNB Paribas, DTCC, routing production infrastructure through a mandatory burn mechanism approaching deflationary equilibrium. Now, coming over here to explain this a little bit more in detail is this Coinage interview that Eric, the co-founder of Digital Asset and Canton Network, and just listen to what he says about this burn mint equilibrium.
But I think it's worth kind of being out on the record about, which is that we took also one of many very unpopular in the crypto space decisions was to go with something called a burn mint equilibrium, for the tokenomics, and just means that 100% of the fees of the network are burned, and fees are fixed in dollars, and you burn a different amount of coin based on the current conversion rate of the coin to dollars. But what can happen is if the market undervalues your coin relative to the amount of fees in the network, you can go into these deflationary states, and it can happen temporarily, but it obviously can't happen permanently, or you would completely run out of coins. And with all the activity in the network today and the rapid growth of activity in the network that we're projecting, throughout the course of the quarter, we're consistently seeing that we're flirting with the idea of being deflationary within some of the reward buckets, and sometimes looking at potentially being deflationary overall. And I think that what that tells me is that the market still doesn't understand how much stuff is going on in this ecosystem. We're not getting the 1000x multiples on fees that other ecosystems are getting. We're getting something very, very close to no forward multiple on what's going on in the ecosystem based on just kind of the way that the burn's working. And I don't think people understand these dynamics well enough. And there could be scenarios where we get into these markets where we have sideways to downward price action as a macro, and Canton can continue to just burn through it, and we could be anti-correlated with the macro malaise, because as we continue to drive more and more utility into the ecosystem, that generates more and more burn, and the market can ignore it for so long, but we can't be deflationary for dynamics well. And I don't think people understand these dynamics well enough. And there could be scenarios where we get into these markets where we have sideways to downward price action as a macro, and Canton can continue to just burn through it, and we could be anti-correlated with the macro malaise, because as we continue to drive.
Y'all, I hope you understand what he just said. He literally just said we could have a downward macro environment, right? Which is exactly what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a huge risk-off environment in crypto, and Canton could just burn through it because real utility is actually being run through the network. And ladies and gentlemen, what Eric said in that podcast is happening in real time. You are witnessing this in real. This is insane. This is literally crazy to live through. Now, does this stabilize? Does this continue? That's not the question. The thing though is that this is happening for the first time in crypto history. This is happening, and it is happening on the Canton network, and it's right here for everybody to see. This is so phenomenal. What a time to be alive. If you hold Canton coin, pat yourself on the back for doing the research, for doing the digging, and for finding this absolute gem. Now, I want to continue on with the interesting highlights from this podcast here. I want to go on to another little tiny snippet where Eric goes on to mention that right now in the current regulatory environment, these institutions can use the network at scale with the current regulatory environment. They don't have to wait for regulatory clarity. They don't have to wait for anything to come into fruition. With the current standards that are in place in the digital asset and traditional financial ecosystem, financial institutions can use Canton network at scale. Take a second here and listen to this.
Asking issuers to take a new set of risks that they don't understand, and they would be the first to take those risks on, then yeah, you're going to have a very serious threshold for good reasons of adoption. And I think that's the really big difference between Canton and all these other ecosystems, is that we've spent a decade understanding deeply what those requirements are, what those risks are. They are incredibly subtle, but also very important to get right. And being able to demonstrate and prove in production for years that we can satisfy those requirements with zero regulatory changes, with zero new risks introduced, but just with this new added upside of global composability and being part of an interconnected ecosystem, then you can have that conversation with that CEO and say, you're not actually taking these risks, and here's why. And you can point to the other entities in our ecosystem that are moving trillions of dollars already and explain why that's additive to them. And it's not taking a whole basket of new risks. It's taking an opportunity or an innovation or breaking the mold, as he said it, but in a way that's a very responsible approach. And I think that's what's really underappreciated about the approach we took with Canton, is that you can absolutely adopt this today under the existing regulatory regime of today. You can meet every regulatory requirement you have today. You can meet every balance sheet requirement that you have today. You could solve material problems, and you could be part of a composable ecosystem. And it sounds a little bit like have your cake and eat it too, but yes, that's what we spent a decade designing for these institutions, is to be able to do that. And the number one emotion we experience when we talk to these institutions is relief. That is the palpable emotion that they present, because they are being pushed aggressively by the success of what's going on in every other network to adopt stablecoins, digital demand deposits, be on chain. And you see announcements every day from these institutions, and you go talk to the people that are responsible for it, and they are a deer in headlights. Yeah. I don't know how to do this without completely exposing my customers' information to the whole world. I don't know how to do this and still know that I've perfected the security of this asset, and that collateral is still there, and that this survives through bankruptcy proceedings. Like, these are very real questions that that these institutions take and that they manage, generally speaking, quite well. And when you completely upend what they're accustomed to and you give them a whole new set of dynamics that nobody has tested before, you put them in a really difficult situation. So
Yeah.
that's just our approach. I'm a lot more empathetic to their position.
These financial institutions can adopt Canton Network and use the global synchronizer right now in the current regulatory environment. We don't need any regulatory clarity for these institutions to come and use the Canton Network because it is compliant. It is fully compatible with the current existing regulatory framework. And that is what Digital Asset has worked on over the last decade. Huge confirmation right there as to what's happening in real time in this space, leading me over here to this last post from, again, Elon Trades, where he was replying to Smoke's post, I believe, Canton coin will not have any value no matter the efforts of Digital Asset. So a lot of people have been speculating on this, on how this could be a negative. In my personal opinion, it is actually a positive, right? And Elon hits on this perfectly. This is actually the most bullish thing about Canton. In other industries, our product is only valuable if people use it, which is the case. In crypto, it's somehow controversial because most tokens are designed to extract value regardless of adoption. Canton is saying the quiet part out loud. No false promises. There's no ICO, no VC unlocks. The token accrues value only if the network is used. If it isn't, it should be worthless. We're seeing in real time the Canton network is being used, which is exactly why the Canton coin is performing the way that it is performing right now as we speak. If they made false promises to create exit liquidity for VCs and insiders like nearly every other crypto project, which is facts, I'd run. But with Canton coin, there are no false promises and no VCs to dump on retail. As we've heard many times before, VCs and all of the leaders at Digital Asset and Canton Network did not get a whole bunch of Canton coins. If they want to buy Canton coin, they have to buy it on the open market just like any other retail investor. The reason they're comfortable stating this publicly is because they know what's already building on it. This isn't a white paper promise. It's a live infrastructure with institutional participants processing real transactions. I've been covering Canton coin for weeks now, and I have yet to uncover or counter a compelling counter argument for why it won't be among the top performing crypto assets from 2026 onward. The question isn't legitimacy, it's execution. And it's a far better risk profile than 99% of crypto. So shout out to Elon Trades for this particular post. That is all that I have for you guys in today's video breakdown. We've been covering Canton coin since it was trading We've been covering Canton coin since 2023 and since it was trading at sub 7 cents. What a time to be alive. Many blessings to you guys. Remember, none of this is financial advice. I am not telling you guys to go out there and invest in Canton coin, but I am asking that you guys go out there and you do your personal research, and I'll see you guys in the next video breakdown.